What's going on, guys? Kai here. Today we're going to talk about everything you need to know about Ranger. So let's start with the actual skills. So first we're going to have Marksman. This is one that you're going to see everyone talking about a lot. Windchaser is very good, but only in certain circumstances. It has a couple issues that we're going to talk about as well. As we'll see, Marksman, whenever you cast a Sky Shatter, which is your increased basic whenever you use a marksman type skill, as we'll see. Increase multi-arrow damage by 35% up to 105%. So you can do this 3 times between each multi-arrow to increase its final damage. Now, while it does do 6 things of damage, it's all considered one attack. So defense is not reducing it 6 times, it's only reducing it once. So being able to stack this up is very, very crucial to you doing damage. Sky Shatter has a 40% chance to lower cooldown of multi-arrow. Remember, that's your increased basic by 4 seconds, which will allow you to get to it a lot faster. Guaranteed to trigger when dealing a critical hit. Character crit plus 10%. That's very sneakily down there at the very bottom. Then we have Windchaser over here on the right. Your Windchaser skills cooldown. Some people think CD is crit damage cooldown. Minus 40%. So our cooldowns are very, very quick, but there is some delay with some of our skills, so it's hard to get them to cast. Dodge chances plus 1. So as we see down here, you have 2 dodges. Right here, 1, 2. With Windchaser, you have 3. After casting Shifting Bolt, gain damage bonus equal to 20% of cooldown reduction. So with the Wind Echo or Fighting Will, you can actually get some bonus damage after your Shifting Bolt. Do for 5 seconds, trigger cooldown 10 seconds. So talking about marksman skills themselves, what you want to do, they're built as the PvE class, whereas Windchaser is built as the PvP class, but there's a couple issues we're going to talk about. So the 2 main skills that we have over here with Marksman are going to be Never Miss. You're going to hear this talked about all the time. This is one of the 2 biggest buffs, self buffs you have in the game. This or the Priest buff that we talked about in the last video. As we see, next 6 seconds increase final crit rate by 25% and crit damage by 50%. Enhances the normal attack changed into Sky Shatter and 1 stack of enhanced multi-arrow, and if you don't have any, then you get 2. That is the 35% for 105. So you can use a regular skill, either a Vortex Arrow or Shifting Arrow. Well, you want to Never Miss because you have 0. This gives you 2. And then use Vortex Arrow at a range. Hit someone that gives you 3. Then you can multi-arrow and have the full 105% bonus damage on top of that. Then we see it's 23 seconds, but on the outside we see it's reduced by 6.5 seconds. So we're looking at 16.5 seconds. Pretty reasonable. Then we go on to multi-arrow, which is our big nuke. This is what makes or breaks this class. Blast away at the target, dealing a bunch of damage. Casting the skill will consume enhanced multi-arrow, which is the 1 out of 3, increasing damage by 35 per stack, max 105. 25-second cooldown. And as we see up here, you want to build crit, obviously because of Never Miss giving you crit rate, crit damage. But this is bonus damage on multi-arrow that scales specifically with crit damage. Now with the other 2, it's easier to just show. One is a line skill right here. Shoot it, and then you get a basic bonus. The other one is an AoE, but it's very, very short for the range that Marksman generally wants to be. So this one isn't used very often. It also locks you up for the 3 ranges right there. You see how my basic attack, the little circle, is shined up green. That is showing I have the improved basic attack. Then as we said, let me put out a dummy. So, alright, 1 second. So 2 stacks, hit, and then bonus. And then as we see, 1.2 million just from the attack, and it isn't even the full attack because this is a weird cooldown thing. You'll see the icons on the bottom showing what skill it is, and you'll see the one before the 1.2 million and the one after 1.2 million also include part of the multi-arrows. So now let's talk about do Windchaser. Let's equip all the Windchaser skills. Break Free, Strength of Nature, Butterfly, and Shifting Bolt. Let's level these up real quick. Sorry about this. Alright, get those up. Get the outside up. Alright. So it's a Windchaser is a very combo oriented class. Primarily your main skill here is Shifting Bolt, and then whatever skill you use before Shifting Bolt changes what Shifting Bolt does. You can either use Break Free, who, as we see, you jump back and then you throw some arrows out front. It actually really doesn't matter if you hit or not, but as you see, it's purple on the second skill, which does increased damage, more damage over time, and as we'll see from the actual ability itself, when you do this, slowing the target and turns Shifting Bolt into Shifting Bolt Stop, which additionally immobilizes targets for 2 seconds. So normally it's just a knockdown, but this is also a stop, a immobilize, so they cannot move while they are affected by Shifting Bolt Stop. This is a lockdown skill for PvP, and tons of classes have movement skills that require movement. Very similarly, the skill we just used, Break Free, remember how you jump backwards to do it? They can't cast a skill like that requires movement at that time. Then our third skill right here, Butterfly Effect, shoots, deals damage, turns Shifting Bolt into Shifting Bolt Continuous Shifting Bolt. Deals 50% more damage in duration plus 100%. So as we'll see right here, Butterfly, Shifting Bolt. And then you'll see it goes down for a long time. And how the cooldowns line up, you generally have the choice. Do I want to do a lockdown effect with Break Free into Shifting Bolt? Or do I want to do more damage, which will be Butterfly Effect, Shifting Bolt? The issue that this class runs into is the cooldowns are pretty short, as you see, but each cooldown, whenever you cast the skill, locks you into that animation for a long time. Now, our fourth skill that used to be one of its own, it still kind of is in some aspects, is Strength of Nature. So, conceals yourself for 8 seconds, 3 seconds at most when in battle. Heals yourself, increases movement speed by 40%, regenerates your HP equal to based off your attack and a flat amount. Changes Shifting Bolt to Shifting Bolt Blast. This skill can be released when controlled, so even when you're CC'd, you can still use the skill. It will deal 25% more damage with afflicted range increase by 40% and inflict knock up against adventures. So as we'll see, super cool animation. I really like it, and it's a knock up effect. So everything, all of your skills care about Shifting Bolt. One, two. Every skill you cast affects your shifting bolt. Now, the issue you run into is you can't really control this, right? So I'm gonna try to control break free. I can control it a little bit, but you have to be very, very careful with this type of skill. But generally, it's going to shoot wherever's in front of you. Shifting bolt has a way better range, but look at that area of effect. The little circle icon is kind of small compared to other skills that we see in the game. And then butterfly effect, you can't control. It's at a set range in front of you. Now, let's talk about what fairy echoes you're going to want to bring. So, you're going to really have three options. You're either going to bring fire, which is going to increase your crit rate, crit damage, and let you go ham with damage. This is probably going to be your PvE setup. You also have the option of doing wind, which is going to be very, very powerful in PvP, especially if you're doing something like Windchaser, which scales off of cooldown. And you're just going to be very, very careful when you're using your skills that you don't get locked up in an animation and then give your opponent a chance to come in on you. Last but not least, you have the option of doing a full 1, 2, 3, 4, a full Holy Echo, which will be best in most game modes. Generally, just Holy Echo is the best. If you have to spend for it, it's probably the best. But this is level 5. There is a 6th, but my server hasn't had Mistletoe yet. So level 5 or level 6 is definitely the best. Reduces their healing, does extra slaughter damage, especially for a class like Marksman. This is definitely best in slot, but if you can't get this, fire is going to be very, very powerful for you because that class scales on crit rate, crit damage. Now, what do you want your crystals to be? All of them you're going to want to be looking at something like attack, crit, tenacity. These are the 3 that you want on every single one. If your tenacity is higher than everyone else's crit with buffs, then you can look into a little bit of block, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Break you're going to get from other directions, which that leads me into one of the coolest parts of the entire class, and that's the class advancement. So as we'll see up here, attack crit rate, defense crit immunity, which crit immunity gets calculated with tenacity to be the final number. Then up here we have pierce rate, so we don't have to build that too much. Protection rate is just, Ranger has such a diverse, more crit, more defense. Marksman is just a very, very tanky. This is like a Ranger in like D&D, right? Where they're not the, well, in this case they are the number 1 damage, but they're kind of like the in-between, right? So they do CC, they do damage, but they're also a little bit of tanky. Look at this, more scaling, attack, and tenacity. So they're all about crit rate and tenacity. So just build those up. What is nice is if you're doing something like Marksman, then having a little bit, about 10%, maybe 20%, if you're able to get it, of HP steal rate is actually more worthwhile here than with most classes. And that's because HP steal rate is just the chance to trigger, and the amount you heal is stagnant. So if it's a single target skill, multi-strike, then you heal for 40% of damage done. This gives Marksman a great way to heal in combat. As far as, I get questions about fake cards, and with fake cards, generally you're looking for damage increase, damage decrease. You can't find PvP damage here. Now, something you do want to keep track of is something like this. All of these cards, yellow or red, have a chance to get what everyone calls a double percent. And that's what we see right here. We have crit damage increase right there. If we look at the book right here, it tells you what they all come with. So if we go with the one that we just looked at, it always comes with crit and damage increase. That third slot is a roll. It could be whatever, just like all of these as we see. Crit, damage increase. The difference between the yellow and the red is the amount, as we see 37 crit, 0.6% damage increase to 50 crit, 1.0% damage increase. So it's better to have a yellow with a secondary percent stat versus a red with a lackluster third stat. So you want to be looking for things like this: crit, the general stats you're looking for as a damage dealer. But that's it, guys. You also want to make sure that when you go into PvP, don't do what I did, and don't forget to have your crit, attack, a little bit of HP is not bad. I like to get a little bit of break because there are some defensive units on my server. But if you don't want to do this, you can go for tenacity as well. The basic combos, just to go over it one more time. Let me swap back. If you want to CC your opponent in PvP, you want to break free shifting bolt. If you want to do more damage but have more time, butterfly shifting bolt. And if you want a big AoE that affects a lot of opponents all at once, then bam, bam. And that also just looks the coolest, I gotta say. Now let's go over to Marksman and then go over their combos one last time. So a lot of times what you're going to see is Marksman, people are going to use something like Marksman Priest, and they will use Priest buff, swap. Let me just show you. Let's put out the dummy. So we're going to Priest buff, swap over, never miss, multi-arrow. So that's going to be the most likely one you'll see. But as we talked about prior, that's actually losing damage. And how you're going to gain that damage that you're losing. Let's wait on the 6-second cooldown. But we're going to never miss, use a skill, which will give us 3 stacks, and then go for it. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and then there we go. So that's how we get as we saw, it was 970k. This is 1.1 million. That is 15-ish% damage bonus. I know it's plus 35 for that one skill, but over the course of the whole thing, as you see, it's 3 shots of damage. It does 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, last one. And those are the 3 that we see there. In total, it is a 35% damage bonus in total, but for the biggest part of the damage, it's a 15% bonus, which is still a lot. But that's it for Rangers, guys. Let me know what you think down below. Until next time, guys.